All right, let's jump right into it. 10 wealth lessons in 10 minutes from one of my favorite personal finance books, The Millionaire Next Door by Dr. Thomas Stanley. Number 1 wealth lesson. Real millionaires prioritize financial independence over anything else, over social status, over the desire to look wealthy and rich, and over recognition of even their success. The honest truth is that in today's world, with debt, any one of us can look rich and successful if we really wanted to. We can buy the nicest designer wear clothes on credit, lease the latest luxury car, and get the biggest mortgage in a mansion we can barely afford. But that doesn't mean we're actually wealthy. Contrary, we're actually getting poorer because we're spending the little money that we have trying to look the part, trying so hard to look rich with all the nicest toys. And most often, individuals who are trying so hard to look rich are just one step away from financial catastrophe because everything is financed through debt. Real millionaires understand the true value of money. They understand that the best purchase money can buy isn't material things, but rather freedom. They can maintain their current lifestyle for years and years without earning even 1 month's pay. Don't get swept up by the need to look rich. Actually, become rich. Real quick, before we jump to the next lesson, if you haven't downloaded your free copy of my 10-step guide to securing your family's financial future, I highly recommend you do so today. Not only is this a great free resource for your financial journey, but you'll also be joining my email newsletter. Newsletter where you can connect with me directly, as you'll be the first to know regarding any new services or products I plan on offering in the future. Please go to my website at financialtortoise.com and download your free copy today. I'll also have a link in the description below. Alright, with that said, let's get back to the video. Number 2 wealth lesson. Real millionaires are frugal. They live well below their means. Frugality gets a bad rep because media presents frugal people as either being miserable or poor. Based on movies and TV shows, the truly wealthy know how to spend lavishly. Our youth are told that buying expensive items is normal behavior for affluent people. They're led to believe that the wealthy have a high consumption lifestyle. They learn that hyperspending is the main reward for being affluent in America. However, contrary to what the mass media might make us believe, being frugal and living below our means is the cornerstone of wealth building. Frugality is what enables us to say no to social pressure to conform. Frugality is what enables us to spend money wisely, not wastefully. And frugality is ultimately what enables us to save money that can compound to grow our net worth. There are countless examples of famous people who made tons of money but lost it all because they didn't develop a habit of frugality. The story of MC Hammer is one of my favorites. MC Hammer was one of the hottest rappers in the 90s when I was growing up. With amazing hits, at the peak of his career, he was earning up to $70 million annually. But without good money management habits, he spent it all on ridiculous luxury items. At one point, he owned 17 luxury cars, a private jet, 2 helicopters, and 21 racehorses. You can probably guess where this led him to. In 1996, he filed for bankruptcy with over $13 million in debt. Within just a few years, MC Hammer went from earning $70 million annually to being broke with $13 million in debt. Therefore, whatever your income, always live below your means. Number 3 wealth lesson. Real millionaires don't overspend on their vehicles. Most don't lease. Instead, they own. Majority own older models, not the latest current year. More than a third buy used vehicles. And guess what is the most popular car maker among millionaires is? According to another one of Dr. Thomas Stanley's book, Stop Acting Rich, a Toyota. What you see in your neighbor's driveway is indicative of his or her standard of living, but it has nothing to do with either his or her wealth, or more important, his or her income generating ability. The sad fact is that the majority of people driving around in luxury latest model vehicles are actually not really wealthy. 86% of prestige luxury cars are bought by non-millionaires. Nice new cars are cool to own. You might turn a few heads on the road, but that's about it. So you have to ask yourself, is getting a few random head turns on the road worth your financial freedom? Number 4 wealth lesson. Real millionaires don't buy too much house. Instead, they buy just enough. Housing is one of the most expensive line on most families' budget. It doesn't matter if you have your food and clothing budget dialed in if you're paying off a ridiculously large mortgage every month. If you're not yet wealthy, but want to be someday, never purchase a home that requires a mortgage that is more than twice your household annual income. But how many of us break this rule of thumb because the bank and a realtor tells us that we can afford a bigger home? Be careful who you listen to. Your mortgage broker and your real estate agent might be very sweet people, but they aren't looking out for your financial well-being. That responsibility falls on you. And the truth is that it's easier to accumulate wealth if you don't live in a high-status neighborhood. If you live in an upscale neighborhood, you'll always feel the pressure to keep up with the Joneses. Everyone has the latest Tesla model in their driveway. How do you think you'll feel if you didn't have one? Everyone is upgrading their kitchen. How long can you hold out before you succumb to the pressure? Make it easier on yourself and think hard about the size of the home and the type of neighborhood you choose to raise your family in. Number 5 wealth lesson. Real millionaires select the right career, the right occupation. They're proficient in targeting market opportunities. The book does state that the majority of millionaires in the study are business owners. However, that doesn't mean you have to become a business owner if you want to build wealth. Because the fact is that most business owners are not millionaires and will never come close to becoming wealthy because the pathway is fraught with so much risk and unknowns. The key takeaway is that millionaires understood what they were good at and what they wanted to become expert in, and they worked hard to increase their chances of success by stacking the deck in their favor. One example of this is when it comes to selecting their business. Unlike sexy businesses like tech startups or hip coffee shops, most millionaires chose really dull businesses. Dull companies with steady earning growth may not make up for stimulating cocktail party chatter, but over the long term, they make the best investments. Think wallboard manufacturing, meat processors, and automobile parts. Definitely not the sexiest business startup ideas, but ones with the highest potential in the long run. Think hard about your occupation. Don't just pick one because everyone is talking about how cool it is. Rather, take a broader view of the industry, existing companies, and potential for growth. When it comes to wealth building, it might be better to be the biggest fish in a small pond versus an average one in the vast ocean. Number 6 lesson. Real millionaires are planners. They allocate their time, energy, and money efficiently in a way conducive to building wealth. Planning is a strong habit among people who have accumulated wealth. Dr. Stanley found time and time again in his interviews that millionaires invest quite a bit of time in planning their financial future. They prioritize managing their financial assets over other activities. And they don't just leave it to when they feel like it. They have a regimented schedule. Each week, each month, each year. They review their investments and make adjustments to maximize the returns they're getting on all their assets. Not many people know this, but Arnold Schwarzenegger, the 7-time winner of Mr. Olympia, a movie star, and the former governor of California, actually became a millionaire through real estate before his 30s. He had invested his earnings from bodybuilding into purchasing real estate in Los Angeles in the 70s. And a key habit that enabled all this to happen was that he wrote his goals down on a 3x5 index card and planned out his future. Brian Tracy, the author of No Excuses, says in his book that only 3% of adults have written goals and plans. And this 3% earn more than the other 97% combined. If you want to become a millionaire, build a habit of writing down your goals and creating intentional time for planning. Number 8 wealth lesson. Real millionaires marry well. And that doesn't mean they marry into rich families. Rather, they marry someone who shares their financial values. Someone who is fully on board with their spending habits and frugality. Not only are the most prodigious accumulators of wealth frugal, their spouses tend to be even more frugal. When you marry someone who is a hyper-consumer, this could lead to a world of hurt. You might want to save your pay raise for a down payment for a new home. However, your spouse wants to take the family to an all-inclusive resort in Cancun. Nothing wrong with either options as long as you can talk through it with your spouse to come to an optimal decision. However, when your money values are fundamentally different, this is really hard. Any effort to discuss money could naturally lead to an argument, and at worst, a divorce. Not good for your mental psyche as well as your net worth. The majority of millionaires in Millionaire Next Door married and stay married to the same person for many decades, allowing the family to accumulate greater net worth as well as enjoying the benefit of a happy marriage. In this regard, I hit the jackpot with my wife. Not only is she way more frugal than I, she's a lot more creative when it comes to extracting maximum value from each dollar. During one of our first dates, she taught me how to get free guacamole at Chipotle by rearranging our orders. It was love at first sight. Number 8 lesson. Majority of real millionaires are self-made millionaires. Many of the millionaires in the book never received cash gifts from their parents. The study actually showed that when adult children receive more dollars, the fewer they would accumulate, while those who were given fewer dollars accumulated more. Basic money would tell us that if you receive more money early in your life, you would have even more money later in life, right? However, we humans aren't logical beings. Productivity is a skill that needs to be developed, and people who continue to receive economic outpatient care have a hard time developing that skill. Reading this chapter made me think hard about my own kids. How could I raise them so they become self-reliant and productive members of society instead of becoming dependent on economic outpatient care? Dr. Stanley gives a few tips based on what he's heard from millionaires. 1. Just as we practice frugality, we must teach them to our kids. Kids observe everything that we do. So if we're living a lavish lifestyle, then our kids will follow suit as they get older. 2, we should also create an environment that encourages independent thought, individual achievement, and self-responsibility. 3rd, many of the millionaires had a great appreciation for the value of high-quality education. For me, this would be reading with my kids on a regular basis and passing on the value of learning from an early age. Of course, this is much easier said than done. I'll let you know if I can keep this up with my own kids in the long run. Number 9 lesson. Real millionaires understood the power of enough. Good health, longevity, happiness, a loving family, self-reliance, and fine friends. If you have 5, you're a rich man. When it comes to money, we default to more is better. Only if I can get a $10,000 raise in my salary, I'll be set. If my home value appreciated by another 10%, nothing would make me happier. However, when we don't define our enough, we'll spend our whole life chasing an elusive pot of gold at the end of the rainbow that we will never reach. Most millionaires in the book became millionaires not because they were trying to be the richest, most famous person in the world. Contrary, they focused on small things such as spending below their means, not caring about what people thought about them, working hard in their occupation, and letting time do the heavy lifting of compounding their wealth. Very simple on paper, but extremely hard to do in execution. Money is only a tool to help us live the life that we want. It doesn't define us as individuals. So more isn't always better. So define our enough and find ultimate joy in that. Number 10 lesson, and this really is the biggest lesson from this book. And that is that real millionaires are ordinary people like you and I. Majority millionaires aren't these super wealthy living in ritzy neighborhoods like Beverly Hills or the Upper West Side of Manhattan. Yes, the super wealthy have very visible signs of wealth. Big mansions, big jets, and big luxury cars. And because they have so much money, a new car is barely a dent in their total net worth. However, that is not the average millionaire. As the book showed over and over again, the average millionaire is someone who carefully saves and invests over time, remains frugal, and constantly plans for the future. I know, super boring, but that is how they became a millionaire. If you ran into them at Costco, you'll likely never know that they are wealthy. They drive up in a stock model Toyota, they wear off-the-rack generic brand clothes, and are very intentional about what they buy. Almost to a point of being considered cheap. But they aren't cheap. They're just smart about their money. And if you're smart about your money, you can achieve the millionaire status one day as well. Thank you guys for watching. If you'd like to learn more about millionaire habits, please check out my video here on the millionaire habits to master in your 30s. Until next time, all the best.